Thanks everybody. So I'm Hasan Yasar, and technical manager of leading the Secure Lifecycle Solution Group in CERT, part of SCI and part of CMU. So today we're going to talk about applying DevOps principles into address dynamic changes in cybersecurity. So it's kind of like out-of-box thinking a little bit. So far we learned about DevOps mainly for Dev and Ops. So we are kind of stretching into getting a security and Ops. So then apply DevOps principles, which we learned so far. How can we address dynamic threats? So I'm going to hand over to Aaron, and we'll discuss about it more in the future.
Yeah, I'm Aaron Volkman. I'm a senior DevOps researcher. I work with Hasan. And I'm going to just sort of set up the scenario for you. First, talk about dynamic cyber threats. Now, picture the air raid sirens are going off like Eisenhower was still in office as president. According to WebRoot, 100,000 new malicious IP addresses were discovered per day in 2015, meaning that we're not recycling. The attackers are not recycling IP addresses because we're so good at blacklisting them. And Human Vision being able to keep up with blacklisting 100,000 new malicious IPs. 97% of malware is unique to a specific endpoint, meaning for a given type of malware, we can't rely on signatures to tell that it's there. All new varieties of new malware is very, very customized to an endpoint. And they predict in 2016, 50% of users will be nose-to-nose with a zero-day phishing site. So to set up, sort of what we're talking about, responding to dynamic threats, we have a cloud here, that's our network, and we have a host sitting there on a network, and the person sitting there on the host, let's say they're going about their job, browsing Russian Facebook or something, and they end up with a malicious binary on their system. And they're not alone on their network. We have here this cylinder. Who can tell me what this is? Database. And we see some traffic that's unknown going between the malicious binary and our database. And we don't know who else on our network might be infected with this binary. What we want to do is stop traffic, remove the binary, and maybe use some software-defined networking to cut out hosts that we do not know are safe and only allow hosts that we know are good to communicate with our service. An even fancier approach would be to use virtualization, containers, or whatever to take this database offline, do a little cha-cha, set up a new one in its place with a new IP address somewhere else on the network, and dynamically create a network configuration change to talk to the new instance. So what I just described in a traditional organization, how long do we think that would take? Do we have the will to do something like this? Can we do this without interrupting business continuity so that our business continue operating? Can we do this spread across several countries, geographically dispersed? And whenever our network architecture is known to the bad guys, how can we deploy new network touch points very rapidly? Dr. Richard Linderman, he works for the DoD, has a very, very long, fancy title. He sort of sets the mission. So we're a FFRDC. He sets our mission, and the DoD is asking for agile operations, which is defined as escaping harm by dynamically reshaping cyber systems as our conditions and goals change. What that means to me is that we want to participate in a fancy game of whack-a-mole, where the bad guys are the hammer and we are the moles ducking out of the way and changing. If you hit me, I don't care, I'll be over there. And that's where DevOps comes in to enable us to do this.
All right, so Aaron, he described a problem so far, which is very dynamically changing. So when we talk about the DevOps, and we are talking about so far a lot of things what DevOps means, so I'm just going to cover up the basic fundamental things to understand overall the philosophy and methodologies, what we're trying to achieve. So DevOps is based on the business needs and driven by the shared goals, which is across other team members, devs and ops together, and then collaboration between the team members. That's how DevOps is working based on development operational. So let's think about the same concept and adding a operational and operations and security analysis people on top of it. That's our company, basically. So developers in the bottom, and operation is kind of like getting pressure from the security folks, getting developers, and they're in between. So we thought, let's get some principles, get operations and security analysis together and work together with the same goal, same business needs, same sharing collaboration piece. So what is the goal is basically securing infrastructure or securing company because as a security, we are all responsible. There is no like a developer's work or the security work, IT work. It's kind of like all team together. So in that picture, it's really important to have everybody in the same boat and talking the same language. So these are the basically DevOps core values. So that's like a CAMS model, and CAMS has been brought in the picture by 2010 by John Wills, and he was talking today, and also David Edmond as well, so he was the creator of the CAMS. So and after that, in Jazz, he added the L as the COMS, C-L-M-E-L, L is the lean. So these are the basic principles. So let's get like what the culture means, automation and measurement and sharing, get into the OPSEC world, and then address the dynamic threats. So when we say about the culture, it's really important to have a culture. So who are the security analysts in this crowd right now? There's many, I believe, security analysts, right? And who are the operational team? Which security analyst will say something and operational team will do something, right? Which based on what the security analyst will tell the operation team, which is IT, they have to either patch the network or they have to do new configurations, what the security analysts say. But usually that type of communication is kind of like siloed. And IT's folks are in either next to the server room, they're doing their own work, they'll be responsible for uptime, they don't like the changes, how the developers are pushing to change. The same concept, security analysts are pushing the change on the IT side, push the new configuration, if the signatures, whatever the necessary to the secret operation for the So there's a cultural differences between, so they're not talking very close together.
In addition to talking together, I think setting up a blame-free culture where people are encouraged to take risks in order to do bleeding-edge things like this, because doing this is very risky out the bat, and very important to foster a culture where people are willing and able to take risks.
That's a really good point, Aaron. So we're going to make sure everybody's in the same boat. So when we talk about automation, and automation is, we took that automation piece from the development perspective, get into the automation piece into the network configuration and security configuration. So treat that application as the piece of the development, like how developers are creating an application as automated piece, getting a test scenarios, or have incremental release. Take that concept, get an application as it is, and put all the configuration as automated piece of all the process. So like changing the network configuration. As we know, almost all developers or the IT folks are using some sort of Chef, Vagrant, and Puppet, and Docker. These are capable tools that are available, have a dynamic network configuration changes based on the configuration, based on how we define that. So a little bit further about automation piece. So intent was like operational folks, IT folks are using already a lot of configuration files, automated way, like Chef, as I said, or the Chef server or Puppet, or Docker automation piece. And same thing for security tools. There are security tools out there doing some automation as well. And I'm sure you guys can look for the expo tomorrow. You guys can see probably 360 vendors, which has participated this year. They have many tools. All the tools are talking about the self-automation piece inside the tools. But there is no connected between all other components. Like if the tool is not connected to other ones, then how are we going to get automation piece about that concept? So it's really important to have the piece of the automation get from application, push into the IT side, so have a continuous automation piece. Then also we have to measure it. How are we going to measure it? What is the strength of our network based on the threat, and how much threat we are getting it, and what is the weakness of vulnerability based on application we are developing, and what is our company targets, where we are getting from IP addresses, what is the things we are able to achieve so far, and measure it, get back to the core values again. Anything?
Oh, yeah, just to underscore what Nicole and Jez said about measurement, I found that some of their findings were a little bit counterintuitive, and that just underscores the importance of making decisions based on data instead of what seems like what makes sense.
Okay. So last piece about the sharing. Sharing is really another component. What we learned the security analysis, we have to share with the operational team together. like it's a kind of like one movie I would like to remind you guys, maybe you guys look at it or not, like James Bond movie, latest movie about Spectre. And Christopher Waltz, he was trying to get information sharing, but building an empire. So we don't want to build empire within an organization. We would like to build a collaboration piece altogether by sharing the knowledge. So when we share the knowledge, this is the typical cycle for the dev and ops together. So DevOps, we talk about a lot of things, DevOps and ops. Now getting a security analyst as the frontliner, right? Security analysts looking for the application monitoring and infrastructures and stuff based on the threat that they were getting. I'm sure a lot of security analysts are getting a lot of feed from different IC sources. A lot of it is coming from that. So analyzing all these threats and then changing network postures and going back to the IT folks, say, hey, do something because we are expecting to see some type of threat, we have to patch your network. So kind of like a feedback going back to the dev and ops, which is the ops team, and then going back to the app network, changing the configuration, push it, and available, ready for everybody. So overall there is a continuous feedback. It is going from the security and to the ops and ops to the security. That's a kind of continuous delivery that we talk about so far. So how we talk about application delivery, now talking about the continuous delivery, continuous feedback between the security analyst group and back to the dev and ops together.
Right. To reach the attacks that we want to avoid here, they can happen within a matter of a minute to an hour, much unlike our OPM breach where they're hanging out on our network for like 18 months. It's crazy. But what we're preparing for is to be able to respond extremely quickly. So our external factors over there, we want to be able to automatically be aware of our external factors and pump that knowledge, that information through to our dev and ops box so that we can do something about it and make a change in order to avoid upcoming dynamic threats. Go ahead. So this is sort of like the ending credits to Terminator 2, but we're for certain that there's a cyber attack ahead. And just to wrap things up with our message, right now, this is what we look like to our enemies. If we're static, they're locked on target. They know how to hit us. What we want instead is for us to look like something that came out of the rear end of a unicorn with a rainbow of, unable to know where to hit us. So this is about the end of our talk.
Great.
If you see something cool, please tweet it at #RuggedDevOps. Thank you very much to the DevOps Connect sponsors up here. And just to reiterate, if you want to get all the slide decks from today, shoot mmiller@sonatype.com an email. Don't shoot.
Send email to the market.
Well, thank you very much. This is Hasan Yasar. I'm Aaron Volkman.
Thank you.